What's going on, guys? This is Michael here from TYT Yugioh, and today I'm going to bring you guys a quick sort of combo video using my Fluffal deck that I profiled for you guys just a few days ago. Quick note on the build, I actually changed it up a little bit just by 2 cards though. So I substituted the third polymerization for a Frightful Factory, and I swapped out the Fluffal Cat for a Fluffal Rabbit. So that might change our plays a little bit, but again, this is going to be randomized, so we'll kind of see. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up. What we're going to be doing is showing off some combos, what exactly the deck can do going first, and I'm going to sort of talk you through a little bit of deck theory along the way. Now we're going to assume that this is, sort of game 1, so you don't know what you're playing against, and that, you lost the die roll, so you're going to be going first, again, using that 5-card hand. This is, I don't know, kind of something I just wanted to address since a lot of Fluffal players usually struggle over what exactly to do going first in the deck. So we're just going to shuffle up right here and then draw ourselves a 5-card hand and see what we can work with. So we have Frightful Factory, King of the Swamp, Brilliant Fusion, Edge Imp Sabers, and a Fluffal Dog. Alright, so this is almost pretty bad. If we didn't have this dog, that would kind of be booty. Luckily, we got the dog. So what we're going to do is, since we have the fusion spell guaranteed, we're going to just go ahead and grab it right now since we obviously need it to play. And then we're going to go ahead and get Fluffal Dog. So Dog is going to get us Bear so that we can end up doing the Wings Bear Wombo combo. So we're going to discard the Bear that we added to our hand to set and activate the Toy Vendor from the deck. So in this case, we kind of are relying on this Brilliant Fusion to resolve, since it's going to get us our Wings Engrave, so we can't risk milling the Garnet off of the Toy Vendor to make our Brilliant Fusion dead. So we're going to have to Brilliant Fusion first in this case, even though we're not guaranteed that to gain the benefit of the second normal summon, but it's just too important to get the Wings Engrave right now to risk, again, hitting that Garnet, however low the probability might actually be. So now that we have the Wings Engrave, we're going to be able to go ahead and activate our Toy Vendor. So in this case, we're probably going to want to discard the polymerization actually, so that we are guaranteed to be able to fusion summon, because you don't really just want to go -1 to put back something with Sabers to be able to fusion summon, and since we have the Frightful Factory, we are going to be able to make a fusion play with the polymerization engraved. So we're going to discard the polymerization for Toy Vendor, and we're going to draw another Brilliant Fusion. That's fine, since again we can actually still play since we have the Frightful Factory. And now we're going to draw some cards with the Wings Bear Wombo combo. So we're going to banish those, draw 1, kill Vendor, draw another one, and then we're going to search with the Toy Vendor. Now this is not the best set of cards we could have drawn. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and say that we are going to want to search the Sheep so that we can recycle our Dog for next turn. So obviously this King of the Swamp is no longer all that useful in our hand since we have the both polymerizations out of our deck. Remember I told you I did cut one, so that's not the best, but it's not going to be too terrible. So we're going to special the Sheep, bounce the Dog back to our hand, and summon the Sabers. So we obviously don't want to fusion summon with the Dog, since that's going to be our recursion play for next turn. In this case, I am going to go ahead and say that we activate Frightful Factory. Actually, no, we're going to activate Polymerization in the event that we draw Frightful Fusion next turn to get our maximum use out of Frightful Factory. So we're going to activate our Polymerization, and we're going to fuse probably King of the Swamp, because we want this in our graveyard, since it no longer has any use in our hand, and we're going to fuse with the Sheep as well, since King of the Swamp can only be used to fusion summon for a named fusion material monster. It's going to substitute for Edge Imp Chain as we fusion summon for our evil Sheep. So this board is okay. We do have some defense position monsters to sort of prevent ourselves from getting OTK'd, and we do have Sheep, which is actually a pretty good defensive card since it has to be killed twice. And then we definitely have some recursion plays with the Fluffal Dog so that we can do the draw combo next turn, and we have Fluffals in the graveyard so that we can do the Wings Wombo combo if we draw it. So that was an alright first turn, definitely not the best, but it was definitely playable thanks to the Brilliant Fusion, and the dog that we ended up drawing. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up and go ahead and go into our second test hand. So pretty much the best first turn board that you can make in this deck is going to be a Sabertooth with 3 materials that it can't be destroyed by battle or card effect, and then a Frightful Sheep. So obviously that's a pretty good board. Burning Abyss and Cosmo both have a pretty tough time dealing with that board. So if it's game 1, you don't know what your opponent is playing, it's usually pretty safe to assume that you should just go for that. Obviously, if you knew that you were playing like Burning Abyss or something, you might want to make Dweller if it's a possibility, just to slow down your opponent. But again, we're not really concerned with the what ifs. We're looking for optimal play here. So give it a little cut, and let's go into our next 5-card hands. We got Frightful Fusion, Upstart Goblin, Toy Vendor, King of Swamp, and Fluffal Sheep. Okay, so this right off the bat is not looking too hot. So in order to thin our deck and ensure that we hit a Fluffal off Toy Vendor, we're going to ditch King of the Swamp for our polymerization. So this is sort of like the age-old question: do we like draw first or search first? Either do we Toy Vendor or do we Upstart first? So if we Upstart into a like dog or a bear or something, or wings, then this play is going to be a lot different. So we want to have the maximum information possible before we continue, so we're going to go ahead and Upstart before we do anything else in this case. So we did draw the owl, and that's alright. So again, since we really need to hit like a dog or something off Toy Vendor in order to be able to play, we're going to normal summon the owl and thin our deck by an additional space, so that we can maximize the probability of hitting a good card off of Vendor. This deck is obviously a little bit luck-based, since a lot of your plays do revolve around hitting something good off of Toy Vendor, so hopefully we hit something good. So we're going to activate the Toy Vendor and then activate its effect. In this case, since we have a spare polymerization and we do play the Frightful Factory, we're going to discard the polymerization for Toy Vendor, and we're going to hit Brilliant Fusion, which is pretty booty. Unfortunately, at this point, your play is kind of just over. You could Frightful Fusion for King of the Swamp and Owl right here to then get the Sheep in defense position, but then you probably don't want to use polymerization, because then you like have no plays next turn, and then your Sabertooth can die. So unfortunately that was not too good, but we ended with a Sheep, so hopefully we won't get OTK through that. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do one more quick test hand. Hopefully this one is a little better than that last one. So that board, I guess, just shows an example of one thing that you really just have to realize when you're playing, Fluffals, or really, I guess, any rogue strategy. If you want to take it to a locals or maybe a regional or something like that, is that your deck is like basically just worse than all the other decks out there, and like you're gonna lose if you like lose the die roll in this case, or like you get comboed by Cosmo, or your opponent summons like double, triple Beatrice. Like your deck is just strictly worse. So that's just kind of something you have to accept if you're going to be, choose to play a rogue strategy. And that's, kind of unfortunate, because, I like playing rogue, but, it is what it is. So let's go ahead and get our last 5-card test hand right here. And we got double Edge Imp Chain, a Fluffal Dog, Instant Fusion, and King of the Swamp. So that's alright. We're definitely going to be able to make a board, so we're going to get a fusion spell so that we can play, and also thin our deck by an additional spot for when we are about to go into our Toy Vendor. So we're going to activate or summon Fluffal Dog to get the bear to our hand, and then we're going to activate the bear to get a Toy Vendor from the deck. Toy Vendor first turn is like pretty much your priority, since discarding stuff is pretty much like never bad. So what we're going to do right here is discard an Edge Imp Chain for Toy Vendor, so that we can ensure that we plus off of it, and then Toy Vendor is going to get us a Fluffal Wings. That is definitely lit. So what we're going to do is we could either summon the wings, or we could ditch it to the graveyard. So in this case, I think we're just going to go ahead and send it to the graveyard since we are already going to have our optimal first turn field of Sabertooth with 3 materials plus Sheep. So we're just going to want to draw, and then our Edge Imp Sabers is going to get us, I think, a Fright for Fusion in this case, so that we are guaranteed to have a fusion spell for our next turn. So after this, we're going to go ahead and shuffle up real quick, and then we're going to do the Wings Bear draw combo. So we're going to banish these guys to draw a card, kill Vendor, draw another card, and we drew Brilliant Fusion. That is super lit. So since we drew Brilliant Fusion, that is actually going to change our play a little bit. So we're going to probably search the Fluffal Owl off of Toy Vendor, so that we can get a... Actually, you know what? We're not going to search the Owl. So since we aren't guaranteed to have a recursion play next turn, we're actually going to want to get the Fluffal Sheep, so that we are guaranteed to have a dog in hand for our next turn, so that we can combo off once again with Wings and Bear. So we're going to, since we really can't afford to draw the Garnet in this deck, we are going to go ahead and activate the Brilliant Fusion, even though we don't plan on using that additional normal summon. So we're going to send the Wings and send the Garnet. Again, hereby making sure that we have a Wings Engrave next turn, so that we can resolve the Wombo combo. Obviously, we do have the Wings in hand, but that's just extra insurance. Maybe you can resolve the combo a third time if you don't OTK your opponent next turn. But yeah, so here we go. And then we're going to summon our Seraph Knight in defense position. Seraph Knight's actually just okay. Like, it's actually just fine to have in defense position doing nothing. Yeah, like it's totally okay. So now we're going to special the Sheep. Again, bounce the dog to summon the Chain. So now we have our dog in hand for next turn, and we're going to make that optimal board of Sabertooth 3 materials plus Sheep. So we're going to instant fusion for the Sheep, and then we're going to whoops, that does not go in our hand. And then we're going to use Polymerization to fuse with the Sheep, the Evil Sheep, and then probably the Chain. You could fusion someone with the Fluffal Wings. You know what, in fact, I think that's what we're probably going to do, since we don't really need the Wings in hand for anything. It's better to just have this guy floating in defense position to sort of wall up for us. And then when he dies, obviously we'll get a search. That's pretty good. So we'll get the Sabertooth, which will get the Sheep back, this time in attack position, since it's going to have 2400 attack and not be 2000 by 2000. So here we go. We've ended with, this is pretty much the best turn 1 field you can make, that being Sabertooth 3 materials, Sheep that can't die, and then a couple of defensive just floaters. We have ourselves really well set up for next turn with Wings Engrave, dog in hand. So yeah, this is pretty good. This is actually probably one of the better turn 1s that you could have in this deck. So this has been my, this quick combo video, sort of. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing me talk about a little bit of deck theory and sort of explaining my thoughts along the way. So thank you guys very much for watching, and catch you next time.